Hi, I'm Matt and welcome to Drumming Solo. Today we're chatting to Nic Collins, who's currently on tour with Mike and the Mechanics. We talked to him about his early childhood and growing up in such a musical household. We talk about his drumming influences. We talk about his other band, the Better Strangers. We have a look at his lovely new Gretsch kit, which has been custom made for this tour. And then we also talk about his future plans for 2023 and any other hobbies, as he's a big soccer or football fan. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video. Please like us, subscribe, follow us on the socials. We'll have more videos, hopefully in the future. Cheers. Cool. So Nic, this kit is unique.
Yeah.
Very unique. Can you just tell us a bit about why this color, why this configuration? Because obviously it's different to the Genesis kit and slightly different to your Better Strangers kit.
Yeah, I mean, so it's definitely different to the Genesis kit, and that was kind of just because when we did this, Mike was like, hey, when he called me to, offer me, he's like, can we not do a massive kit? I mean, it was also we're playing a lot of theaters and, not big arenas, and I think also sonically, just the concertone thing doesn't necessarily match all the mechanics stuff. So this was just kind of more of a, I guess, standard, normal kind of kit. The finish is I called it purple marine pearl because it's just deep black marine pearl, just in purple. It's with back at home with my band Better Strangers, I've got this, essentially this is kind of the core of what the kit is back at home. I've got a few extra bits in there, but it's just the deep black marine pearl off the Gretsch's main line. And so when we were making this kit, because it would have just been easier to get one here to have in the UK. I just asked if they thought we could have that same marine pearl kind of thing, but just in purple. Yeah. And purple, the only reason for that was just because I thought it would look cool. Like there's no other attachment to the color other than I just thought it'd be kind of an interesting finish. And I've never really had colored drum sets. It's always just kind of been black, white, gray, and it's just So this is kind of a cool little change, but it's all double-headed USA custom drums, and it's a 7x10. 9x13, 16x16, 16x18, and then the kick is 18x22. And at home I have the same, but in a 24.
Yeah.
But obviously this was just 24 would have been a bit extreme for this gig. And then the snare is 6.5x14. And actually the snare is just the same USA custom thing.
Okay.
And I just obviously I've tried a lot of Gretsch snares. Love the bell brass snare, the aluminum snare, and all that stuff, but the USA custom is something just about the wood snare that comes with it. It was what we were using on Genesis, is what we're using.
Okay.
My dad's, it just kind of has a nice balance where it cuts through the mix, but it's also not too abrasive, where, the bell brass is just like, every time you hit it, you can just feel a bit of your high end in your ears.
So
going off.
Is there, I know on your Better Stranger kit, you got the concert toms. Is literally that the only difference? Setup wise, do you have 2 and 2?
Yeah, I used to just do 1 rack and 2 floors like Bonham, and then obviously I had the 2 concert toms, but I started throwing in a 10. But yeah, I mean, I got the 2 concert toms, and then I've got a couple roto toms, and maybe like a couple more splashes or something. But for the most part, it's the same kind of kit. It's set up a bit different because with the concert toms, I have got some of the crashes on this side a bit higher up. And this has been nice to kind of have them at a normal height again, because I don't have to do that whole thing. But no, I mean, it's at its core is kind of the same. It's just different, especially when you're kind of approaching, there's like a drum solo at the end. Everybody does a drum solo, but on the drum solo, it's like, I'm always used to having all those bells and whistles. And now it's like, okay, I've got just, what I've got. And it's been kind of fun to try and to make the most out of just the drums that you have, which is still kind of, for most people, still a pretty big kit.
Not tempted to go to a rack from...
Yeah, I mean, I had a rack on Genesis, and with my dad it was the rack, just there's so many stands and stuff that we had to, it was always going to be different every night. It's not, and everything is just kind of intertwined. But this is just kind of a simple enough kit, and where at home I don't have a rack either, and it's it's kind of standard. Like a lot of the stands are just kind of straight. There's not a lot of boom going on, so it kind of stays in the same place. And I think this is it's the other stuff is just it's almost setup wise. You gotta you need a rack to even get it where you want to, because it works. So this has been simple enough though. So yeah, I'm pleased with it.
It looks really good on
No,
that.
thanks, man. Yeah.
Nice. Really cool.
Tom's heads, it's Remo clear emperors. So obviously on the 10, 13, 16, 18, and then a coated Emperor X on the 14 snare, and then a Power Stroke P4, or is it P3? P3. Sorry, you see, this is why you're here, man. P3 clear Power Stroke on the kick. DW hardware and pedals, 9,000. I've been kind of going between the 9,000 and the 5,000 for just like the last kind of few months, and I've just established that I prefer the 9s. Just, I don't know, I think I was blaming my poor double kick technique on the pedal, and really it was just me.
And the Roland stuff is purely for one shots.
Yeah, so we've got an 808 kit for one of the songs in the set called Let Me Fly, and that's just kind of sampling all these 808 toms and kick and snare. And then we've got another song, Are You Ready, which is the BT1 is for, and it's kind of just got this big reverby snare sample on top of it. And then cymbals, 15-inch artisan hats. Can't go wrong. It's like, you know, my favorite hats that I play, they always kind of stay the same for the most part. 10-inch ozone, AAX ozone splash, then HHX evolution splash. Is this a 12?
Yeah.
This is a 12. Hand hammered 18, medium thin.
That's an old one, isn't it?
Yeah, this was from my dad's lockup, actually, because we were looking for an 18-inch kind of just thin crash, and we couldn't really find any. So thank God we were able to kind of get this out of some case somewhere. And then the rest, it's HHX complex thin crashes, 19 and 20, the same kind of one. And I love these because they feel great to play, and I like that kind of dark sound that they kind of that they give. And then 22-inch Legacy Ride HHX, and this is another, I love it because it's just, you know, you get a lot of diversity from it. You get you know, the ride itself and the bell sounds great, but then when you kind of want to crash on it, which I don't do as much in this gig, but you know, back at home with my guys where it gets a bit heavier, you know, it works to just kind of really go at it. And then another ozone HHX, and this one's brilliant. I prefer the brilliant ozones seem to sound better than when it's just regular, because they don't sound as muted, and they really kind of cut through the mix without being too loud. And then my favorite cymbal ever is this 21-inch A Holy China. And yeah, that's been the one cymbal that I've never really swapped out of the kit. Every kit that I've got always keeps that China in there. And then other than that, ProMark sticks, and I'm using forward 5Bs. I was dealing with a lot of kind of wrist issues when I first kind of started out, and having the 5Bs now where I don't actually have to hit as hard to get the sound I want, and you can kind of have the stick do a lot of the work, has really helped just with my wrist issues, but also they feel good without being kind of too heavy. And then the Porter and Davies throne, it's kind of like as soon as you start using one, it's hard to kind of go back to a normal throne, just kind of with the built-in thumper. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. Kind of something that's similar to definitely the Genesis Storm. I mean, a bit of my dad's is we're using this Trigger TM6 module, which is just a kick and snare, just for a couple songs to get some sounds off the record. You know, some of the ones where it maybe have been like a gated reverb sound or a Simmons kind of thing. Yeah. On the Genesis tour, we had 2 units running at the same time, because one was kick snare and a few like bars, and then the rest. Then one was all the toms were on it, and obviously this is just kick and snare. So, but no, I mean they've been great. Roland's, they always kind of like very consistent, very reliable on it. But yeah, I mean,
no, nice.
That's about that.
Cool. All right, so Nick, how silly question? How did you get into music? Was it one of those things that you just naturally fell into? Was drums the first thing, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely the first thing. I mean, I my dad didn't force me into it, which was good, you know. And I think that's the kind of big thing that a lot of people, or you know, parents who do something and they kind of want their kids and they kind of push it onto them, and that kind of almost has the opposite effect. But no, I mean, like right from the get-go, you know, it's one of those things where my dad would kind of put me on his lap and play around on the kid. And then when I was about 2 or 3, I got my first kit, like, you know, still kind of a kid's kit. I mean, but it wasn't all plasticky and terrible. It was just kind of like that slight step up where it kind of was loud enough to be considered a real drum set. And then from there, I kind of never looked back. But at first, it was just kind of a hobby. I didn't really, it was just because I liked doing it.
Yep.
You know, and I was, you know, grew up, I was a big football fan, and I wanted to be a football player. And then when I moved to the US, I kind of just realized I wasn't that good. And so, and at least I was okay at this other thing. So I started kind of taking it more seriously.
So it was all self-taught? Did you have proper lessons? Or
well, yeah, my dad at the beginning gave me like it's like as a kid, it was a few pointers to really kind of get the feel for it. But then he kind of let me do my own thing. And then when I moved to Miami in the US, I had a drum teacher for a while. And he definitely helped me get like my technique up, and because that was kind of non-existent by that point. And so I started taking lessons, and then, but for the most part, after that, it's been kind of self-taught, just because, I don't know, for me, I'm a bit more kind of, I guess, of a visual learner. Okay. So a lot of it was kind of just watching my favorite drummers on YouTube and just kind of, and listening to records. That's kind of been the biggest thing for me, is just taking in that.
So did you ever go down the theory route? Because obviously your dad famously can't read and sort of had his squiggles.
I can't read either.
No.
I did take a couple theory classes in high school in the US, but it was, you know, forgotten half of it. Yeah. It was very surface level. Like, you know, it's like I have a little bit of knowledge for it, but I think at the end of the day, it's just, for a drummer, I don't think for at least where I want to do, and what I have done so far, it's not integral and totally necessary for everything. But yeah, I mean, I also kind of play a little bit of guitar and piano. And so that's also helped.
Self-taught.
Yeah, that's totally so. I mean, guitar, I had like maybe a handful of lessons for some guy, but it was all self-taught, just learning songs. And that's been great as like a writing tool. But that kind of gives you a bit of an understanding for everybody else in the band. So that's been kind of helpful to kind of have that in my locker as well.
So if you're writing, do you start on the guitar?
If I'm writing something myself, yeah, it'll usually be on the guitar or piano. I mean, if it's with the band though, usually everybody kind of does their own thing. Comes up if our guitar player is going to come in with an idea, he'll come in with a guitar part. It's very rare that we're kind of swapping in and out. So there's a few drum things that I'll come up with, drum riffs or drum licks or something. But usually it's hard to kind of, that's why I wanted to learn how to play guitar and piano, because there's only so much you can kind of do with a drum set. You know, there's only how so different that dun 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 can sound when you don't have chords or stuff like that. So, you know, it's definitely helped. But yeah, I mean, also now at home, I live in an apartment, so it's hard to just go out and play drums. So yeah, a lot of the kind of music that I just do on a day-to-day basis, if I'm not actually rehearsing or actually practicing, is just on a guitar.
Okay. What was the first drum kit you bought, or you were like, I want that, or was it always a hand-me-down?
The first couple kits were hand-me-down, but then the first kit that I bought, that I was like, oh, that's, and I loved it. Yeah. Because we talked about a kit that I wasn't huge on earlier. No. But it was a Tama acrylic kit. Yeah. Crystal beat, just normal acrylic, because I was such a big Chad Smith fan. And at that time, I think the most recent tour that they had done at that point, the Chili Peppers, he was using this clear acrylic kit. And I wanted a pearl one because it was like him. And then one of my friends in Miami was like, I've got this Tama one that you've got at the shop. You've got to come and try. I'm like, yeah, but it's not the pearl one. He goes, can you just come and try it out? And I just love the way it sounded. So, but I had that for a bit. And then obviously when I started playing Gretsch, I've had a couple kits with them and, always been very happy. But that acrylic kit, was probably the first one. And then obviously being a big Bonham fan, playing acrylic was just like a cool thing to do,
So early musical influences, like first albums you bought?
Yeah, I mean, obviously right at the beginning, my dad's stuff was a lot of that was just what was around, being on tour with him when I was like 3 or 4. And that was kind of the first, but I think, other than just stuff that was on the radio, I think the first kind of real music obsession that I had was Zeppelin. My dad was like, the first song my dad was like, told me to listen to was When the Levee Breaks, just because of the drum sound and the groove. And from there, it just kind of, I got on this kind of Bonham kick and an obsession. And then also at the same time, it was the Chili Peppers and the Foo Fighters. There was just kind of like the bands that I guess you know, for what Zeppelin were to the guys those at that age, the kind of what it was to us is like, you
Very
know,
much so,
my generation, it was listening and to bands like the Chili Peppers, the Foo Fighters, the kind of, you know, those alternative bands. So that was kind of really at the beginning, and then it's just kind of all sorts. I mean, I guess broadly it's been rock music in general, and you know, where you go through different kind of phases and different.
Is there anything you're listening to now that you think I really like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive Tool fan.
Yeah,
Danny Carey's like my favorite drummer, and he's just unbelievable. But actually, right now, I was just kind of been on this, been listening to this band called Carnival, this Australian.
Yeah,
that's just kind of what I've been listening to at the moment.
Got very cool T-shirts, don't they?
I don't know. I don't have one, maybe.
I don't know. That might just be me making that up.
No, but they're great. That's who I've been listening to at the moment. I've also been listening to, weird there, I've been listening to Pliny, who's this Australian guitar player who's great, but his band is just outstanding. I mean, like, he's a tremendous player. It's kind of instrumental prog music, but their band, I mean, I went, actually, the day I landed to start these mechanics rehearsals, we went to go see them play, because a mate of mine was, you know, he knows them, and he was like, come out to the show. Like, all jet lagged. I'd like landed like an hour before. I'm like, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
But they're great. I mean, you know, great rhythm section, and just, I mean, great band overall. But that's kind of what I'm listening to right now.
And do you listen to that for music, or because of the drummer, or are there any other?
Both. It's both. Yeah. It's definitely like what keeps me going is the drums, right? But you know, if it was crap music, then I wouldn't like it. So
yeah,
you know, but yeah, it kind of just depends. I mean, you know, there's so many bands that, you know, I mean, modern bands like Royal Blood, you know, big fans of them. And
is that where Better Stranger's name came from?
Actually, weirdly, yeah. I mean, it was yes and no. It was like, it didn't come because we were like, oh, we got to call ourselves because of this. It was, we were throwing around names because coming up with a band name is the worst thing ever. I hate it because it's difficult, and no band name sounds good until you're famous. You know what I mean? Like, the Red Hot Chili Peppers is a terrible band name, but now it's awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the only band name that's like cool from the get-go is Queens of the Stone Age, and that's like, oh, that's really cool. But no, but yeah, like, we were coming up with names with the word strangers in it, and then I think our guitar player jokingly went Better Strangers, and we all knew it was a Royal Blood song because we're big fans, and we were just like, but I was like, it's kind of a cool name, and so that's kind of what had us just kind of go.
Yeah.
And you know, I think there's you know, we used to be called one of the bands I was in was called What You Know, which was literally after a Two Door Cinema Club song.
Oh,
because it was the first song we. Oh,
excuse me.
It was the first.
It'll be that over there.
It's the first song we had played at that time when we were like, I don't know, 13 or something.
Yeah.
So this was a bit not as kind of direct. This was just like happened to be a song that we knew.
What are your hobbies? What are your passions?
Oh, hobbies! I know. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of hobbies that I actually do. I'm a big football fan, like we were talking about, and
so disappointing.
The underlying tension to this interview is he's a Liverpool fan and I'm a Manchester United fan. So, oh my God.
I'll tell you what.
Get a grip of yourself.
They just love honking their horns down at Plymouth.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, a passion of mine. What takes up most of my time is, you know, because in the US it's waking up early and watching, you know.
Yeah, so you don't do the whole computer game.
I do. Yeah, but it's not like I'm not that, you know, serious enough about it where, like, you know, it's like I'll, you know, play my fair share of FIFA and a couple of games, but it's not like, you know, I'm not good at like any shooters, and I'll put on the headset and everything.
No.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, honestly, as boring as it sounds, music is kind of the main thing that I just do, just because it's just like every day you go. I mean, I'm lucky that my band, we got like a studio space, so literally it's like almost every day you're there, and it's kind of what you do. I mean, so it's nice to kind of take a step back and almost do nothing, but yeah, I'm trying to think of any other kind of, I mean, I'm just big sports fan.
During lockdown, did you not take up any like knitting, crochet?
No, I was playing actually.
Cartooning.
Me and my brother are playing a lot of basketball together, actually.
Oh, okay.
We, you know, living in Miami and in the US, it's a big deal there. So it's just really sport, really. It's kind of a bit boring. It's football, basketball, and Formula One. That's kind of.
Oh yeah. Any box sets you'd recommend? you binge watched anything? Do you do anything like that?
Yeah. Trying to think. I'm trying to not just say like the most basic show ever. I'm gonna say like Breaking Bad because everybody's seen Breaking Bad and everybody knows it's great. Mr. Robot is probably my favorite show that I've watched. It's with Rami Malek. It's what.
Oh, okay, not come across that one.
Yeah, it's what he did before. Like I think that's what got him the
Queen.
Yeah, exactly, the Queen.
Okay.
But it's great. It's a great show. It's kind of short.
Yeah,
like 4 seasons or something. But yeah, that's kind of my favorite show. But obviously, you know, other than watching the stuff like Game of Thrones and maybe Sons of Anarchy is another one that's a bit more low-key. I'm not going to say like Peaky Blinders because especially here everybody's watched it. But yeah, Sons of Anarchy is a good one. But yeah.
Okay, and if you're putting together a dream band, you can be in it if you want. It's up to you. But you can have, you know, whatever lineup, you know, if you want two guitarists or, you know, section.
That's a great question. I mean, I think it depends. I think a lot of the time it's like, you know, some of the bands, they work so well because of it's them in that lineup. You know, it's like, you know, if you think about, I don't know, if you took like Pink Floyd, but you put Neil Peart on the kit, I don't think it would have had the same magic that it did with, you know, with Nick Mason at the time. It's just, so it's like every band is kind of reliant on their own kind of dynamic. But I think on bass, I'd love to play with Justin Chancellor from Tool. I think he's just like such a brilliant bass player, and the, you know, kind of textures and stuff he can write on the bass part without and kind of the rhythms he's coming up with is just brilliant. Guitar, I've always been a big John Frusciante fan just from being kind of a Chili Peppers fan, so be hard not to put him on the list.
Are you putting yourself on drums?
Well, I mean, yeah, because I want to, like, I want to play with these guys. Now, if you want the best band, no, I'll put somebody else. But no, I mean, if I had to put somebody else on drums, it might have to be Bonham.
Yeah,
really, for me at least. Like, he could do everything. You know, it didn't matter if it was heavy rock or if it was blues or if it was kind of funk. He could do it all. So, and then, God, I mean, guitar on vocals, I don't know. Oh.
This is the one that always gets me, because you got your Freddie Mercury's, but then you got your, you know, literally, like, you know, I could say Freddie Mercury, I could go Stevie Wonder, and it's just like I honestly cannot decide who I want on vocals anymore. I've given up. So me asking you this,
I know. I got Chris Cornell. Why not?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like, one of the best singers ever.
It's just one cool rock band.
Yeah, I forgot what I put in it now.
We got Tool, Chili Peppers, Led Zepp, and Soundgarden.
Yeah, and then I mean on horns,
you don't have to have horns.
Yeah, no,
you can have another guitar.
Yeah, I don't think it works with this band.
You can have a keyboardist. But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, maybe another guitar player.
Yeah.
Let's put Eddie Van Halen in there. Why not? Ooh. Yeah. I think he was just like, I'm like, you know, I think everybody's a fan of Van Halen, but I never got into them as much as I got into, you know, the Zeppelins, you know, the Police and stuff like that. Maybe I'll put Andy Summers in there actually. But no, I'm going to go with Eddie Van Halen just because he's just insane. And for somebody who's not a guitar player, he's just like, he's almost like everybody's kind of almost favorite guitar player. Just based on when you just see him play, because like I said, I'm, you know, don't think I'm familiar enough with him as opposed to the guys like, you know, John Frusciante and stuff like that. But he was just such a great guitar player and, you know, so innovative with his sound. So yeah,
that's cool. Well, I won't stress your mind anymore.
Thanks for insight. That was the most difficult part of the interview, man.
Cheers. Cool.
Yeah.